Here's Hal Moore talking again, back to the book. In late June 1966, my turn was up as commander of the 3rd Brigade. When my replacement, a colonel straight out of the Pentagon, showed up to take over, my brigade was in the field fighting near Dong Tre. It would have been criminal in those circumstances to relinquish my command to a man who's still pissing stateside water, and I flatly refused to do so. The change of command was delayed 10 days until the fight was over. A month later, on August 8th, 1966, my replacement sent Alpha Company 1st Battalion 7th Cavalry back into the Idrang Valley by itself, and 25 men were killed in one terrible day. So not a good turnover situation. And again, this is where people always talk about, when I talk with businesses, they go, we have a big bureaucracy here and you don't understand. It's like, no, we understand. The military understands bureaucracy better than anybody. We probably got the biggest and most firm in place bureaucracy in the world. And this is part of it right here. Back to the book. I had hoped that my next assignment would be to the infantry school at Fort Benning, where I could pass along what I had learned in Vietnam to the young officers who were headed for combat. It was not to be. In fact, only one of the hundreds of officers who had gone through air mobile training and a year in the field with the 1st Cavalry Division was assigned to the infantry school. I was sent instead to Washington, D.C., where I was told my next job would be the Latin American desk at the U.S. State Department. This is an embarrassment. Right? Here's this guy basically created or helped create or helped test the idea of air mobile helicopter assaults. And then he did it for a year in the field, commanded at the battalion and at the brigade level. And instead of putting him in the infantry school where he could teach the stuff that he learned, they sent him to be the Latin American desk. And I'll tell you what's awesome. This was awesome. When I was in the SEAL teams, I went to Ramadi. When I came home, guess where I went? I took over the West Coast SEAL training for the guys that were getting ready to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan. I did what he wanted to do, which is perfect. And luckily, we have a little less bureaucracy, and I was able to talk to my boss and say, "Hey, this is what I should be doing." He said, "Yeah, you're right," and put me in that position. But it didn't happen, and here's all this knowledge gone. And they said only one officer out of 100. That's another thing. Like when you hear, people in the business world, they say, well, the military is this great organization. The military has all kinds of problems. The military is no perfect example of the way to run things. Parts of it are, but you can't look at the military as a whole and say that even remotely makes sense in any way, shape, or form. And I could point 1,000 things out to you today. The military is the same way, doing dumb stuff. I mean, it's a great organization. It's got great people. There's unbelievable leaders in there, but there's also idiots. The military is made up of people, of human beings. Brilliant ones, dumb ones. Back to the book. For the next year, I watched Bob McNamara and John McNaughton, both brilliant men, go through hell as they struggled unsuccessfully to get a handle on the war and the pacification progress in Vietnam. At the end of that year, neither of them was any closer to finding or creating such a handle. An office wit summed up what was happening in Vietnam sadly and succinctly. Although we have redoubled our efforts, we have lost sight of our objective. So we're pouring all these troops in there, pouring all this money in there, putting all these assets in there. We've redoubled our efforts, but we've lost sight of our objective.